The moment hit without warning. A lawsuit file surfaced online before TLC said a word. Fans opened their phones to chaos. Group chats lit up. Reddit threads spun out. Andre and Elizabeth learned the news the same way everyone else did, through alerts and screenshots, not a call from the network. 1 second they were part of the franchise history. The next second their names were tied to a lifetime ban. Silence from TLC made it louder. Confusion filled the gap. People asked one thing and kept asking it. How does a franchise favorite fall this hard without the audience seeing it coming? The tone felt off right away. Not explosive, uneasy, like a room where someone slammed a door and nobody moved. Screenshots bounced around without context. A dollar figure kept repeating. 1 million. The words lifetime ban sat there like a bruise. Fans argued in circles. Some defended. Some felt vindicated. Many felt tricked. This story did not feel like a sudden blow-up. In my opinion, it felt like the end of something unfinished. Andre and Elizabeth stayed quiet. No long posts. No tearful videos. That silence said more than any denial. A legal fight does that. It freezes people in place while everyone else fills the space with guesses. TLC stayed quiet too, which made the leak feel heavier. Networks move fast when surprises help them. They slow down when the past catches up. This shock did not begin with a lawsuit. It began years earlier, when small moments piled up and nobody outside the set noticed. Before the leak, the story looked familiar. Andre and Elizabeth entered the franchise with instant friction. Strong opinions. Sharp tempers. A couple who never whispered when they could argue. Fans watched the power struggle unfold on screen and treated it like entertainment. Family dinners turned into shouting matches. Business talks turned personal. Andre pushed hard. Elizabeth defended harder. Chuck tried to keep peace and usually failed. Viewers picked sides every season and social media stayed busy. There was humor in it too. The eye rolls. The walk-offs. The moments where everyone talked over each other and nobody listened. It felt chaotic but watchable. Many fans saw a stubborn couple learning how to coexist under pressure. Others saw red flags and called it early. Both groups kept watching. The drama worked. What aired felt loud yet contained. Arguments ended. Episodes wrapped. The next week arrived with a new fight. Familiar patterns turned into background noise. Over time, familiarity softened the impact. When behavior repeats often enough, people stop reacting. That is where comfort creeps in. Viewers thought they knew the limits. Production kept filming. Seasons stacked up. The couple stayed central to the franchise, but something else ran parallel to what aired. While fans reacted to scenes, the network tracked patterns. While viewers laughed or groaned, staff handled tension off camera. What looked like bold personality on screen felt different behind the scenes. That contrast matters. The audience saw conflict, edited for pace. The network saw behavior repeated across real days with real consequences, even during the loudest seasons. While ratings stayed high, concerns quietly followed the couple from set to set, away from the cameras. A quieter record began to grow. Nothing explosive. No headlines. Small notes filed after tense days. Emails summarizing uncomfortable exchanges. Logs written late at night by tired staff. Allegedly, these notes did not accuse. They described tone, pushback, delays, moments where filming felt harder than expected. Early on, this sort of documentation looked routine. Reality TV runs on friction. Strong personalities often come with extra notes. The difference sat in repetition. The same concerns surfaced again and again. A producer flagged stress during negotiations. A coordinator mentioned raised voices during scheduling talks. A junior staffer asked to switch assignments. Each entry alone looked minor. Together, they formed a rhythm. Escalation without correction. Behavior met with accommodation. Ratings stayed strong, so urgency stayed low. From a psychology angle, this pattern matters. When intensity brings attention and airtime, it feels rewarded. When pushback leads to rewrites or delays, it feels effective. Over time, boundaries blur. What once felt bold starts to feel normal. Staff adapt. They reroute. They smooth edges. They keep shows moving. That adaptation hides cost. Discomfort becomes invisible to viewers. The audience sees storylines. The crew absorbs strain. Allegedly, concerns did not vanish. They stacked. The paper trail grew thicker as seasons passed. Each new entry referenced earlier ones. Language shifted from surprise to expectation, not panic, familiarity. The network still filmed. Promotions still ran. Episodes aired with high engagement. From the outside, nothing looked broken. Inside, tolerance replaced correction. When pressure delivers results, it often escapes scrutiny. The system rewards output, not process. That is how small issues survive. They blend into routine. They wait data to a certain point, routine crossed into interference, and filming no longer bent around behavior without cost. The mood shifted once annoyance started touching logistics. Reality TV runs on tight schedules. Crews move fast. Locations charge by the hour. Every delay ripples outward. When one scene stalls, the day slips. When a day slips, budgets bleed. That is why producers push so hard on timing. Not for control, but for survival. Allegedly, filming delays became more frequent. Arguments no longer stayed inside scenes. They followed the crew into planning calls and location walks. Andre pushed back on schedules. Not quietly, not once. Pushback turned into standstills. When a shoot pauses, the meter keeps running. Cameras still rented. Staff still paid. Locations still booked. Trust erodes first. Money follows. Elizabeth's role shifted here. Earlier seasons showed her smoothing edges, translating tone, calming rooms. Over time, she stopped mediating and started defending. From her view, loyalty mattered. From production's view, negotiations grew heavier. Every detail felt contested. Simple changes required long conversations. That tension drains energy fast. Crew stress builds differently than on-screen drama. It lingers. People brace before conversations. Voices lower. Emails grow careful. Some staff allegedly asked to rotate off assignments. Others stayed and absorbed it. Exhaustion does not look dramatic. It looks quiet. That is what scares producers. From the outside, viewers still saw heated scenes edited clean. What they did not see were hours lost between takes. What they did not feel were backup plans made daily. Production does not fear arguments. Production fears unpredictability. When pushback turns unpredictable, risk enters the room. The power struggle grew clearer. Who sets terms? Who bends? Who absorbs cost? When one side holds firm long enough, the other tracks losses. That tracking changes posture. Accommodation turns into caution. Caution turns into documentation. And then came a day when filming stopped altogether, not for drama, but because the room no longer felt controllable. Florida felt different. Not loud, heavy. Filming days usually start with tension and end with relief. This one stalled in the middle. Allegedly, a disagreement over a planned shoot stretched longer than anyone expected. Voices rose. Crew members waited. Equipment sat idle. The air shifted from frustration to concern. At a certain point, producers made a call no one likes making. They stopped filming. A shutdown is rare. It means the day failed. Everyone still gets paid. Locations still charge. Crews still burn energy without footage to show for it. More than money, it hits trust. A shutdown tells the network something slipped beyond control. Safety matters here. Not physical harm alone. Emotional pressure counts. Burnout counts. When staff feel cornered or drained, the work slows or stops. Several people later said Andre and Elizabeth were not always difficult. On calm days, filming flowed. Jokes landed. Scenes wrapped early. Those counterpoints matter. This story stays honest only with balance. The problem was not constant chaos. The problem was instability. Calm followed by conflict without warning. Planning became guesswork. That uncertainty wears people down. Exhaustion shows in small ways. Shorter patience, quieter conversations, longer emails. Staff brace for reactions instead of focusing on shots. Producers juggle morale while protecting schedules. Over time, that weight stacks. One shutdown feels fixable. Multiple near shutdowns feel different. They signal a pattern, not a fluke. From the outside, Florida never aired as a crisis. Viewers saw edited scenes weeks later. What stayed hidden was the cost. Lost hours. Extra meetings. Reports filed after midnight. Allegedly, those reports reached desks far from the set. Executives read summaries. Legal teams skim timelines. Not to punish, but to assess exposure. This is where the tone hardens. When safety enters the conversation, networks listen. When patterns repeat, lawyers lean forward. Calm days no longer erase bad ones. The file grows teeth once lawyers start tracking behavior instead of producers smoothing it over. The story stops being television and starts becoming evidence. Inside TLC, the response shifted from reactive to organized. Emergency meetings formed fast, not loud meetings, focused ones. Departments pulled records from different corners of the company. Production logs, HR notes, legal summaries, scheduling reports, emails saved for reference and never meant for headlines. Allegedly, these pieces lived apart for years. Once aligned, they told one story. Patterns jumped off the page. Delays tied to the same names. Conflicts described with similar language. Staff concerns echoed across seasons. The archive no longer looked scattered. It looked consistent. This was not one blow-up explained away by stress or bad timing. This was accumulation. Too many entries pointing in the same direction. Fear entered quietly. Networks fear three things most: loss of control on set, loss of brand safety with partners, loss of narrative with the public. All three appeared in the same folder. Control slips when filming stops. Brand safety weakens when staff safety gets questioned. Narrative collapses once leaks escape. Executives do not rush toward lawsuits. They avoid them. Legal action means exposure, discovery, questions no one wants asked. The fact this reached review stage speaks volumes. According to people close to the process, leadership no longer debated whether issues existed. They debated risk tolerance, how much strain the franchise could absorb before damage spread wider. The inevitability felt heavy. Years of tolerance boxed the network in. Ratings bought time, not immunity. Once the file stood complete, the past stopped feeling manageable. It felt documented. Each earlier compromise now looked like deferred consequence. Producers felt it too. Some worried about blame. Others felt relief. Long-standing concerns finally read aloud. The mood inside shifted from defense to preparation. When preparation starts, the ending stops being flexible. This was not about punishing personalities. It was about protecting systems. Systems move slowly until pressure aligns. Pressure aligned here, and as internal reviews tightened, information slipped outward, changing a controlled process into a public rupture. The first leak did not feel explosive. A screenshot floated through private chats. No logos, no signatures. A short line referencing instability tied to a familiar name. Crew whispers followed. People who worked together before started texting again. Old frustrations resurfaced. Someone asked who else knew. Someone else shared another image. Screenshots spread faster than explanations. Journalists noticed the shift before the public did. Emails landed in network inboxes asking for comment. Not accusations, clarifications. Those questions changed the mood. Once reporters call, silence stops feeling neutral. Inside TLC, conversations split. One group pushed for quiet containment, lock files, reinforce NDAs, slow the story down. Another group argued silence invites suspicion. A controlled response protects credibility. No one played villain here. Fear drove choices. Producers worried about their teams. Executives worried about advertisers. Legal staff worried about exposure. Each concern pulled in a different direction. Meetings stretched late. Language grew careful. Words like risk and precedent surfaced more often. Meanwhile, leaks gained detail. Allegedly, a redacted complaint appeared describing emotional strain during filming. Formatting matched internal systems. That detail mattered. Authenticity fuels panic. Once insiders recognize their own paperwork in the wild, control feels lost. Crew morale shifted. Some felt relief. Long ignored issues finally acknowledged. Others felt exposed. Careers rest on reputation. A scandal touches everyone nearby. This tension spread fast. Departments stopped sharing freely. Access tightened. The process slowed even as pressure climbed. From the outside, fans sensed something brewing. Rumors jumped platforms. The absence of a clear statement filled feeds with theories. Silence reads as guilt online. The franchise thrived on conversation. Now conversation ran ahead of facts. Executives faced a choice few networks want. Protect the franchise image at all costs or protect the internal process even if headlines hit hard. Delay risked leaks shaping the story. Action risked drawing attention. Every path carried damage. Waiting cost narrative control. Speaking cost exposure. Legal teams mapped outcomes. Public relations teams drafted statements they hope not to use. At some point, the question stopped being how to avoid fallout. It became how to survive it. When silence threatened the brand more than the truth, the network chose action and everything changed. The lawsuit decision formed through math, not emotion. Contracts exist to protect schedules, staff, and money. When filming stalls, costs rise. When shutdowns repeat, losses stack. According to people familiar with the process, TLC reviewed days lost, locations wasted, crews paid without footage, and emergency adjustments added late. Each incident alone looked manageable. Together, those incidents formed a bill no network ignores. Safety entered the equation next. Not headlines. Workplace reality. Staff reported stress and exhaustion tied to unpredictability. Production depends on trust. When trust fades, risk grows. A network carries responsibility for crews on location. Once reports suggest pressure cross comfort lines, leadership listens. Protection becomes priority. The decision focused on accumulation. No single argument triggered legal action. A pattern did. Repeated interference with filming plans. Alleged breaches tied to cooperation clauses. Financial damage linked to delays. The goal was not punishment. The goal was defense. Institutions move this way. When exposure rises, walls go up, self-protection drives choices. Here, a lawsuit draws attention, yet silence risks worse outcomes. Legal filings establish record. They frame cause and effect. They show action taken once thresholds break. From a corporate view, this step signals boundaries enforced at last. While lawyers prepared documents, the couple lived unaware. Filming tensions felt normal after years of conflict. No formal warning explained the scale of review. According to sources close to the situation, Andre and Elizabeth sensed distance, not danger. Messages felt shorter. Calls ended faster. No one said the word lawsuit. That gap matters. Shock lands harder without context. When news arrives through leaks, trust collapses instantly. Preparation never happened. Defense never formed. The story raced ahead of the people inside. By the time the papers reached final draft, the fallout stood locked in place, and the couple still walked forward blind. The moment the lawsuit hit public feeds, the tone flipped. Confusion turned loud. Screens filled with clips from old seasons. People rewatched scenes with new eyes. Moments once framed as spicy drama now felt heavier. Fans split fast. Some felt validated. Years of discomfort finally named. Others felt betrayed. A favorite couple gone without warning leaves whiplash. The internet moved into verdict mode. Threads stacked evidence, not proof. Patterns. People compared timelines, filming gaps, sudden edits, episodes that felt rushed, absences explained away before. Now those gaps felt intentional. The audience filled silence with theory because the network stayed quiet. Support poured in for crew members. Empathy shifted behind the camera. Many viewers said they never thought about production stress before. Others pushed back. Reality TV thrives on conflict. Where does responsibility land when chaos sells? This tension kept feeds alive for days. No fake posts needed. The energy told the story. Defensiveness on one side, relief on the other, anger everywhere. Fans asked whether the show crossed lines long ago. Others asked whether punishment fit the behavior. No easy answers surfaced. The audience became jurors without instruction. Rewatching seasons turned into testimony review. Editing choices faced scrutiny. Silence felt strategic. Every delay fed speculation. Each non-statement sounded louder than words. In the storm, the couple stayed offline. No statement, no clarification. Absence created its own message. Supporters worried. Critics sharpened takes. Pressure built for a response. Public opinion rarely waits for facts. It decides pace first. Judgment follows later. And once a story escapes private rooms, control disappears. While fans argued over blame and fairness, the couple prepared to speak, and no one knew how explosive that moment would feel. When the story reached Andre and Elizabeth, shock landed first. Not loud rage, quiet disbelief. The kind where phones stay in hand longer than normal. News read twice. Words stop making sense. Learning from leaks cuts deep. Trust breaks before facts settle. Anger followed fast. Anger at the network. Anger at leaks. Anger at timing. Stress does that. People look for control when control disappears. Andre reacted outward. Tension showed. Elizabeth reacted inward at first. Fear crept in. Not fear of headlines. Fear of loss, income, stability, identity tied to a public story. Disagreement surfaced between them. Stress exposes cracks. One pushes back. The other defends. Mediation turns into alignment. Years of playing roles blur real needs. This does not excuse behavior. It explains reactions. Under pressure, patterns repeat faster. Empathy matters here. Being removed from a franchise hurts. Being labeled hurts more. Yet accountability stays central. Allegedly documented issues did not appear overnight. Emotional responses do not erase patterns. Both truths exist together. Elizabeth faced a shift. For years, she balanced family conflict and production demands. Now loyalty narrowed. Defending a partner feels safer than questioning the system. Andre faced a different wall. Aggression stops working when institutions respond. That realization hits hard. Fear deepened once consequences felt real. Not edits. Not storylines. Long-term effects. Contracts end. Future opportunities shrink. Public perception lingers. This weight changes conversations at home. Silence grows heavier. Their situation reminds viewers that reality TV pressure does not end when cameras stop. Stress carries forward. Responses shape outcomes. Support helps. Reflection helps. Change takes time. What followed mattered more than ratings, because consequences now stretch far beyond television screens. This story sits at the uncomfortable middle between ratings and responsibility. Reality TV rewards chaos until chaos stops behaving. Conflict pulls viewers. Volume sells episodes. Networks learn fast what keeps eyes glued. Problems feel manageable while profits stay high. Boundaries slide little by little. Then a line appears nobody planned to cross. Viewers usually meet the ending first. A ban, a lawsuit, silence. The build-up stays hidden. Notes, complaints, tension behind cameras. The illusion feels complete on screen. Loud moments look isolated. Patterns hide inside editing choices. By the time consequences arrive, surprise feels natural. This does not make the network innocent. Tolerance carries responsibility. When warning signs surface early, delay becomes a choice. At the same time, institutions protect themselves once risk spikes. Survival instincts take over. Individuals feel small against systems built for defense. Andre and Elizabeth's arc reflects this collision. Behavior rewarded for years meets limits enforced late. Shock feels unfair from one angle, inevitable from another. Both views coexist. Empathy does not erase accountability. Accountability does not erase humanity. For viewers, the takeaway sits simple. Entertainment rarely shows full cost. When chaos sells, someone absorbs strain quietly. Crew, families, contracts, mental load. The ending rarely tells the whole story. The audience now holds context the show never offered. Rewatching feels different. Silence sounds louder. Gaps make sense, and while this chapter closed publicly, the aftermath kept moving quietly. Because the network changed rules behind the scenes, and the next story explains how those casting shifts reshaped the franchise without anyone noticing.